Welcome to Shop Strategy, the deep dive that equips you to build a thriving Shopify store. This deep dive is powered by Growth Suite. It's a tool that helps you run smart discount campaigns, and you can actually test it for free on your Shopify store. Today, we're tackling something every e-commerce owner runs into, making sense of your data. We're going to pull apart the common Shopify analytics mistakes based on some great insights over at theshopstrategy.com, and crucially, show you how to, well, turn those errors into actual growth opportunities.
Exactly. This isn't, just another boring lecture on metrics. This is really for you, the Shopify store owner, who's ready to stop guessing and start building your business based on, well, real insights. We know your time's valuable, and really our goal is to help you plug those hidden data leaks and really unlock the power that's sitting there in your numbers.
Yeah, think of this as your guide. Transforming that maybe confusing jumble of analytics into a clear roadmap. We're going to pinpoint where you might be going wrong, how to fix it, and ultimately find those game-changing insights, the ones that fuel real growth. Okay, so let's unpack this. Why is being data-driven just so fundamental for a Shopify store?
Well, imagine trying to navigate your business blindfolded versus having, like, a really clear GPS. That's basically the difference.
Yeah.
Relying on assumptions versus making decisions based on solid data.
Mm-hmm.
In e-commerce, it's so competitive.
Yeah.
Understanding your numbers isn't just nice to have. It's really the foundation for sustainable growth.
Yeah, and the shopstrategy.com makes this really compelling point. They say stores with proper analytics often see, a 20 to 30% better ROI on marketing spend? That's huge.
It is huge, yeah.
What kind of specific insights actually lead to that big a difference?
It really comes down to laser focus. Good data lets you see exactly which marketing channels are bringing in paying customers, right?
Which products are actually selling well, and crucially, where people are dropping out of your sales funnel. So you can, double down on what works and fix the bottlenecks instead of just sort of spreading your budget thin everywhere and hoping for the best. Like, you might find out your Facebook ads get tons of clicks, but maybe your email marketing converts way better. So you shift resources, better results.
Makes sense. And what happens when the analytics are flawed? Sounds like it could lead you down some pretty expensive rabbit holes.
Oh, absolutely. Flawed analytics can give you a completely misleading picture. You might think an ad campaign is killing it, but it's actually losing you money. Or you might stop selling a product that could be great just because the tracking isn't attributing the sales right. The consequences are serious. Wasted ad spend, obviously, missed opportunities, bad inventory calls, either too much or too little stock. And honestly, it just leads to frustration for everyone, you and your customers included.
Shopify is a great platform, but the experts at theshopstrategy.com point out it has its own unique analytics challenges. What are some of the big ones Shopify owners bump into?
Yeah, one of the first hurdles is often the discrepancy you see between Shopify's own reporting and tools like Google Analytics. You see different numbers for sales, for instance. That immediately makes you distrust your data, right? It's hard to get a clear picture.
That sounds incredibly frustrating. Why do those inconsistencies happen?
Well, Shopify's built-in stuff is pretty good for a quick look at your transactions. But Google Analytics, GA, that goes much deeper into visitor behavior, how people find you, what they do on the site, how long they stay. And these platforms, they just track and attribute things slightly differently. So some variation is normal. Then you add in the technical stuff, like getting UTM parameters right for campaigns, or this whole shift to Google Analytics for GA4. It's understandable that store owners get overwhelmed. They either ignore analytics or maybe just stick with an old, outdated setup.
Okay, let's zoom in on some of those basic setting mistakes then. The article flags improper Google Analytics integration as a major one. How does that usually go wrong?
It's surprisingly common, actually, to accidentally install the GA tracking code multiple times. People put it in the Shopify settings, maybe directly in the theme code, maybe a marketing app adds it too. The article had this great, cautionary tale about a store with 3 GA snippets firing. Their traffic looked insanely high, totally inflated. It messed up all their conversion rates, and they actually did an unnecessary website redesign based on that bad data.
Oh man, 3 times. That's wild. What about enhanced e-commerce tracking in GA? The experts say that's often overlooked. Sounds like missing out big time.
Totally. Not enabling. Enhanced e-commerce is like trying to build a puzzle with half the pieces missing. You lose sight of critical stuff, like which products people are actually looking at, how many add things to the cart but don't check out, where exactly in the checkout they bail. Without it, you've just got a really superficial view of how people interact with your products. You miss huge optimization opportunities.
And the GA4 migration. Yeah, that's been a big topic. What are the common slip-ups people make there?
Well, a lot of stores are either just putting it off or they've flipped the switch to GA4 but haven't configured it properly for e-commerce. GA4 is fundamentally different. It's event-driven. So just connecting it isn't enough. You have to explicitly set up tracking for those key e-commerce events. Product views, add to carts, starting checkout, finishing the purchase. If you don't do that setup, you basically have huge data gaps. You lose historical context and future insights.
Okay, so what's the right way to do it? How can Shopify owners make sure their GA setup is solid?
The best start is usually Shopify's own native GA integration in the store preferences. That gives you a good base. Then you absolutely have to verify the data is flowing correctly. Use tools like the Google Tag Assistant extension or just watch your real-time reports in GA. And finally, the crucial bit. Make sure you've explicitly set up tracking for those key e-commerce events in GA4. This might mean some manual setup or using a Shopify app designed to help with GA4 e-commerce tracking.
Okay, another basic mistake the shopstrategy.com mentions is misaligned tracking parameters. Sounds like a small detail, but one that causes big headaches.
Precisely. Little mismatches in settings across platforms can really mess up your data, like time zones. If your Shopify store time zone is different from your GA time zone, sales might show up on different days in each system. Makes analyzing daily trends or matching marketing to sales almost impossible. Same thing with currency settings. If they don't match, comparing revenue is just pointless.
Right. And then there are UTM parameters, those tags we add to links to track traffic sources. How can messing those up derail things?
Oh yeah, inconsistent UTMs are a super common way to get fragmented, unreliable data on channel performance. If one person on your team uses newsletter and someone else uses email marketing and maybe someone else uses email, all for the same thing, your email marketing data gets split across all those different labels in your reports. You can't get a clear picture of how well it's actually working.
So what are the practical fixes? How do store owners avoid these alignment issues?
First, meticulously sync up your time zones and currencies. Everywhere. Shopify, GA, any other tools you use. Next, create a clear, standardized UTM guide. Spell out exactly how each source and campaign should be tagged. Make sure everyone uses it. Using a UTM builder tool can really help enforce consistency too. There are plenty of free ones online. And finally, make it a habit. Regularly audit your traffic source data in GA. Look for those inconsistencies and fix them.
Okay, moving on. The article talks about neglecting server-side tracking. This might be newer for some folks. Why is this becoming so important?
Yeah, most Shopify stores rely on client-side tracking. That's JavaScript running in the user's browser. But, with privacy being such a big deal now and ad blockers everywhere, this client-side method has real limits. Ad blockers, privacy tools, even browsers themselves can block these scripts. The shopstrategy.com suggests you could be missing data on up to 30% of interactions in some cases.
Wow, 30%. That's a massive blind spot. That could totally change how you see customer behavior.
It really could. And it gets even worse with third-party checkout sometimes. When a customer leaves your site to pay somewhere else, that client-side tracking often breaks. So you see, they started checkout, but maybe not that they finished the purchase in your analytics. Server-side tracking shifts data collection from the browser to your server. It's server to server. Much more reliable, less likely to be blocked by browser stuff, gives you a much more accurate picture, especially for conversions.
So what are the options for stores wanting to implement this? Server-side tracking, I mean.
Shopify itself is starting to offer some native server-side options, so definitely check your store settings for that first. Beyond that, there's Google Server-Side GTM, Google Tag Manager, or there are specific third-party Shopify apps that focus on server-side tracking. Honestly, even just setting up server-side tracking for your most crucial conversions, like purchases, can make a big difference in data accuracy. Helps you see your true marketing ROI.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to errors in actually collecting and interpreting the data. The experts stress tracking the complete customer journey, not just the final purchase. Why is that holistic view so vital?
Because that whole path from awareness to purchase and even post-purchase is packed with valuable info. If you only track the start, like a visit, and the end, the order, you miss everything in between. All those moments where people might hit friction points or where you can engage them better. The article uses that great funnel analogy. 100 people hit a product page, only 5 buy. Why didn't the other 95? Was the description confusing? Shipping costs too high? Checkout clunky? Without tracking each step, you just see the overall conversion rate. You don't get actionable insights on how to improve it.
That skincare brand example in the article really nailed it. They tracked the funnel, found people bailed late in checkout because of surprise shipping costs, added a calculator earlier, and boom, 24% conversion lift.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop at the purchase either. Tracking post-sale stuff. Are they checking order status? Looking at the returns policy, browsing again later. Ignoring that means missing huge insights into customer satisfaction, repeat business potential, lifetime value, all that good stuff.
So for someone wanting that fuller picture, what are the key touch points they should track?
Well, first, you need to map out your specific customer journey. What are the key steps for your store? Usually it's visits, product views, add to carts, starting checkout, completing purchase. Make sure you have tracking for each step. Then, in GA4, you absolutely need to set up custom funnel reports. That lets you visualize the drop-offs between stages, see where you're losing people. And don't forget micro-conversions. Things like newsletter signups, account creations, adding to wish lists. They show engagement and intent, often lead to future purchases.
Another point of confusion the article highlights is misinterpreting those analytics discrepancies, especially between Shopify and GA. You mentioned some difference is normal. How should people handle that?
Yeah, it's crucial to understand why they don't perfectly match up first. Shopify usually counts an order the moment it's created. Google Analytics typically counts it when the tracking code fires on the confirmation page. So if someone buys that, they quickly closes their browser before that page fully loads.
Shopify gets it. GA might miss it.
Exactly. Plus, they use different attribution models how they credit the sale to a marketing touchpoint. That causes differences too. So instead of aiming for perfect 1.1 matching, which is unrealistic, set a reasonable expectation. The shopstrategy.com suggests GA often underreports compared to Shopify by maybe 5 to 15%. That's kind of a normal range. The key is to monitor it consistently. If you see a big deviation from your usual range, that's when you investigate. It could signal a tracking problem.
That 5-15% benchmark is helpful. What's a practical way to keep tags on these differences?
A really simple but effective way is just a spreadsheet, weekly, maybe even daily. Log the key numbers, orders, revenue, traffic from both Shopify and GA, side by side. Over time, you'll get a feel for what your normal discrepancy is. Then, any sudden jump in that difference becomes a red flag. Tells you something might be broken.
The article also really hammers home not neglecting mobile analytics, which makes total sense given how much shopping happens on phones now.
Oh, absolutely. Mobile isn't the future, it's very much the present for e-commerce. But mobile users often behave very differently than desktop users. Shorter sessions, fewer pages viewed, different conversion patterns. Plus, mobile tracking can face more technical hiccups, slower load times, spotty connections. If you only look at your overall website data without breaking it down by device, you could be totally missing serious problems with your mobile experience.
So what are some concrete steps for Shopify owners to get a better handle on mobile performance?
First step, make device segmentation standard practice in your analytics review. In GA, create separate segments or even dedicated reports just for mobile, tablet, and desktop. Then, regularly compare your key metrics, conversion rates, bounce rates, average order value across those devices. That comparison often reveals really important insights. Pay super close attention to mobile page load speed. It has a huge impact on mobile conversions. And finally, if you see people starting on mobile and finishing on desktop, or vice versa, think about implementing cross-device tracking to get that complete picture.
We'll be right back after a quick word about our sponsor.
Welcome back to Shop Strategy. We're diving deep into Colin's Shopify analytics mistakes. Okay, let's talk technical implementation issues. The experts at theshopstrategy.com warn against overcomplicating your setup. Why is less sometimes more here? Because, kind of ironically, a super complex setup can actually lead to more inaccuracies, and it makes it harder to pull out the insights that matter. When you have too many tools, too many tags, too many custom events firing all over the place, it causes conflicts, slow down your site, and just create so much data noise, the important signals get lost. And you can end up with analysis paralysis, spending more time fiddling with tracking than actually using the data.
So what's a better, more manageable approach for a Shopify store?
Generally, start focused. Nail down reliable tracking for the core stuff first. Traffic sources, product engagement, cart activity, conversions. Get that foundation solid and accurate. Then, if you have specific business questions, you can add more granular tracking carefully. Regularly audit your tag manager. Clean out duplicate or old tags. Consolidate similar events if you can. Remember, the goal isn't just collecting data, it's getting clear, actionable insights to make better decisions, quality over quantity.
Another technical challenge the shopstrategy.com brings up is poor integration with third-party apps. With so many apps available for Shopify, this sounds like a common trap.
It really is. Apps can add great functionality, But many, especially marketing or customer service apps, install their own tracking pixels or change your store's code. And that can interfere with your main analytics. You might see duplicate transactions, one sale counted multiple times. Or it could break your checkout tracking entirely. Also, apps that customize your checkout process can sometimes mess up the standard tracking sequence your analytics relies on.
What can store owners do proactively to minimize these risks when adding apps?
The main thing is caution and testing. Always test your analytics after installing a new app, especially one that touches your site's front end or checkout. Before installing, maybe document your baseline analytics performance so you have something to compare against. Right after installation, check everything, especially conversion tracking. Is it still working correctly? If you find conflicts, prioritize your main platform, usually GA. Look in the app settings for integration options or ways to prevent interference. Good developers usually offer help with this. And finally, have a process. Document every app change, install, remove, config, update. And always include verifying analytics tracking as part of that process. Catch issues early.
Okay, last point on technical stuff. The experts stress not neglecting regular maintenance. Analytics isn't set and forget, right?
Definitely not. It needs ongoing attention to stay accurate. For instance, theme updates. They can sometimes just wipe out custom tracking codes you've added to the theme files. And even if you don't change anything, the world outside does. Analytics platforms update APIs, browsers add privacy features, Shopify updates its platform. Any of these external changes can sometimes break your tracking without you realizing it at first.
So what kind of regular maintenance should people be doing?
Regular health checks. Monthly is probably a good cadence. Verify critical tracking is still firing page views, conversions. Look for expected patterns in your data. Investigate any sudden, weird changes in key metrics. That could signal a break. Consider setting up automatic alerts in your analytics for big anomalies like a sudden drop in traffic or conversions. And always, always test changes, theme updates, new apps in a staging or development environment first before pushing them live. Check the analytics tracking there.
All right, let's move into some more advanced strategies. Starting with inadequate customer segmentation, something the shopstrategy.com highlights. Why is looking beyond the overall average so important?
Because that overall average hides so much. It's like judging a restaurant by the average rating of every single dish. You miss the amazing ones and the total disasters. Customer segmentation lets you slice up your audience into meaningful groups based on shared traits, past purchase history, lifetime value, how they first found you, where they live, what device they use. Analyzing these distinct segments reveals so much about their specific needs, preferences, buying patterns, that lets you create much more targeted, effective marketing and personalize their experience.
What are some key segmentation dimensions most Shopify stores should probably start with?
The article suggests several key ones. Customer lifetime value, find your VIPs. Purchase frequency, separate loyal buyers from one-offs. Acquisition source, which channels bring the best customers. Also, geographic location for localized efforts. And device type to see mobile versus desktop behavior differences. Creating custom segments for these in GA and regularly looking at your metrics through those lenses. That's where you uncover really transformative insights hidden in the averages.
Another advanced area is predictive analytics. Sounds a bit intimidating, maybe. Why should stores think about forecasting the future?
Well, most analytics looks backward, what happened. But the real edge today comes from anticipating what will happen. Relying only on historical data is like driving by only looking in the rearview mirror. You see where you've been, but you'll miss what's coming up. Predictive analytics uses your past data patterns to forecast the future. That lets you be more proactive, optimize inventory, personalize marketing, spot customers about to churn, make smarter strategic moves.
What are some accessible predictive techniques? Things a typical store owner could actually try without needing, a data science degree.
Yeah, you don't need a PhD to get started. There are some pretty straightforward techniques. Cohort analysis, tracking groups of customers acquired over time, helps predict retention and LTV. RFM modeling, recency, frequency, monetary value segments, customers based on buying habits, help spot high potential or at-risk customers. Propensity scoring can predict the likelihood someone takes an action, like buying again. Even basic seasonal forecasting, looking at past year-over-year patterns, helps anticipate demand. You can even start by exporting order data to a spreadsheet and just looking for patterns. Then maybe explore specialized Shopify apps for things like churn prediction or LTV forecasting.
Okay, and finally, in advanced strategies. Poor data visualization and reporting. Why is presenting data clearly so critical?
Because even the best insights are totally useless if they're buried in confusing reports nobody understands or acts on. Dashboards crammed with too many metrics, visualizations not tied to specific business questions, that just leads to people tuning out. missed opportunities. The key is focus reports. Answer specific questions directly. Use maybe 3 to 5 relevant metrics per objective. Keep visualizations simple and clear line charts for trends, bar charts for comparisons. Emphasize the key takeaways. Tools like Google Data Studio are great for pulling data together into visual stories that make sense. And ultimately, make those dashboards accessible. Foster a data-informed culture across your team.
Now let's shift to a really critical area: privacy and compliance. The experts stress that ignoring consent management is a huge mistake. What are the risks?
Yeah, this is massive. Analytics isn't just about data, it's about legal compliance and customer trust now. Many stores are accidentally breaking privacy laws like GDPR or CCPA by collecting analytics data without proper consent. And the penalties can be severe big fines, yes, but also serious damage to your brand's reputation. There's this common misconception that it's the platform's responsibility, like Google's. But no, as the website owner collecting the data, you're primarily responsible for compliance.
So what does compliant consent management actually look like for a Shopify store?
It starts with a clear, easy-to-understand cookie consent banner. It needs to explain what data you collect via analytics cookies and why. But it's more than just the banner. The tech underneath has to respect the user's choice. If they say no to analytics cookies, those tracking scripts must not activate for them. While Shopify has some basic settings, many stores benefit from a dedicated consent management platform, a CMP. They integrate with tag managers like GTM. This ensures tags only fire after consent is given, and it provides an audit trail. Plus, remember, rules vary by region, so your solution ideally needs to adapt based on visitor location.
Another big privacy mistake mentioned is failing to anonymize sensitive user data. What kind of info are we talking about, and why is collecting it risky?
And trying to get granular data. Sometimes stores accidentally collect personally identifiable information, PII, in their analytics. That's a big privacy risk and compliance headache. PII can sneak in unexpectedly, maybe in URL parameters, like email addresses and links, or custom dimensions you set up, event labels, form field tracking. Once that sensitive info is in your analytics, it's a liability. And often, it doesn't even add much analytical value anyway.
What steps can owners take to avoid collecting PII in their analytics?
First, audit your setup thoroughly. Look for potential PII exposure points. Check URL parameters, custom dimensions metrics, e-commerce data fields, form tracking, user ID implementations. Where you do need user-level tracking for legit reasons, use proper anonymization. IP address anonymization in GA is fundamental to enable that. Use hashing for any customer identifiers. And finally, set clear data retention policies in your analytics platforms. Limit how long you store individual-level data. Most platforms let you auto-delete data after, say, 14 or 26 months. Minimizes your risk.
Wow, this has been incredibly thorough. A really valuable deep dive into these common analytics mistakes and, crucially, how to fix them. It's so clear that getting these details right really matters for success.
Absolutely. Being proactive about these pitfalls, implementing a solid, well-maintained analytic strategy, that's how Shopify owners move from just guessing to truly leveraging data, driving real growth, building a more resilient business.
And speaking of driving growth with data, remember, this deep dive is powered by Growth Suite. Growth Suite is built specifically to help you use accurate analytics to run smarter discount campaigns that actually boost sales. Its smart engine looks at your unique products, your customer behavior, your order patterns, and figures out the perfect timing and offers for maximum impact. You get features like detailed funnel reports, visitor tracking insights, product performance data, everything you need to make data-backed marketing decisions. And the best part? Growth Suite offers a free installation, so you can try it on your Shopify store today, risk-free, and start turning all that valuable data into actual revenue growth. You can also find tons more info on Shopify strategy and analytics, including the great article we talked about today over at theshopstrategy.com.
Yeah, and as you think about everything we covered, I'd encourage you, pick just one area of your analytics setup we discussed today. Maybe it's your GA integration, maybe UTMs, maybe mobile. Just pick one thing you can review and improve starting now. Even one small fix in the right direction can make a big difference in how you understand your business and make those smarter, data-driven calls.
Thanks for tuning in to Shop Strategy.
Thank you for joining us.